Hey everybody, Tara Thomas, Waterloo Schools. Such a pleasure to be on KBBG. A couple times a month we share all the wonderful things happening in our district. So many things behind the scenes that many of you are not familiar with. Maybe you've heard a granddaughter, a son mention something about the programming that we have going on in our schools by way of Leader in Me, but I can tell you that it continues to grow and it has made such an impact on our young people in terms of all the leadership qualities that it's enhancing for them. Joining us this half hour is Melissa Reed. She's the local Leader in Me guru, if you will. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So talk about the program. When you hear Leader in Me, naturally you think about it has to do with leadership, but talk about that whole inception of that Leader in Me concept.
Yeah, so Leader in Me is really based on, well, the premise is that all of our young people have the opportunity to be leaders, and they have natural gifts and talents that if we as educators identify and nurture, we can help them really become effective later in life. Leader in Me is based on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Dr. Stephen Covey, and it's typically something that we often think that applies to adults, but what we're learning is it really does apply to young people, and that we're helping them get those tools of effectiveness early on so that as they reach later in life, they're ready to roll with whatever they're doing with career, college, and citizenship.
How did Waterloo come to be connected with the Leader in Me program? Because is it an international program at this point?
It is. It's international, based out of Franklin Covey. And basically what happened is we had some business leaders here in the community along with the Alliance and Chamber, and that happened to stumble across A.D. Combs, which is an elementary school in North Carolina. It was the first Leader in Me school to be in existence, and what they saw when they were able to visit that school, they were so moved and said, we have to provide this opportunity for all of our kids here in the Cedar Valley. And so that's the goal.
And how does it work when you talk about having Leader in Me in the school? Is it the same for all schools in terms of adopting the program, or does each school have its nuances?
Yep. Yeah, that's a great question. Typically, we really want the school culture to reflect the great things that are going on in each individual school. So while there are some consistencies with programmatic ideas, there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of unique aspects that each school brings to their Leader in Me culture.
And I know one thing that comes to mind that's really unique about the program is giving kids that opportunity to really take on the leadership role sometimes means simulating what it would be like to go through the job application, interview, being chosen. That whole process is really, really fun. For me, I love that my kindergartner, being at a Leader in Me school, had to apply to be an equipment manager in PE. I mean, it's that big of a deal that the kids are really simulating that real world job process of trying to land a job.
Yeah.
Why is that something that young people need more experience with?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a great question. Our business leaders who saw this opportunity to invest in our schools here have repeatedly and ongoingly said, listen, the young people who are coming out of school, whether it's high school or college, are ill-prepared with soft skills. Soft skills are the things that help you to be effective independently of others and interdependently with others. And, it's prioritization and communication and organization and follow-through. And our young people, they're seeing a trend that they're not as prepared in those soft skill areas. And so these real-world opportunities that are taking place in our schools are ultimately preparing kids for effectiveness in whatever route they're headed.
What is the purpose behind Leader in Me as far as, I guess, what's the end game? Are you hoping to be in more schools, not just in the Cedar Valley, but beyond?
Yeah, well, our end in mind here in the Cedar Valley, of course, is that all 34 of our schools in Waterloo, Cedar Falls, and the private schools in Cedar Valley Catholic would have this opportunity. But also, eventually, more of a regional approach in that we would engage the greater Cedar Valley, so our rural schools in this awesome work.
How many schools right now in Waterloo, can you break it down, elementary, middle, and high, are a part of the program?
Yeah, we've got 9 Waterloo schools, and there are 7 elementaries and 2 middle schools.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what's the plan next? Are we going to expand that? I know there was a grant that has come into play. Talk about how that would work to get the funding to be able to do it.
Yeah, so we have funding has been largely from our business community and private donations. They've been very generous. once they realize the scope of this work, they're excited to give. And so, yeah, we've got some businesses and different organizations that have stepped forward. They're willing to help offset the costs of this opportunity in the schools. And, but yeah, we're definitely hoping to expand. We have 3 other Waterloo schools right now who are in the, we call it the readiness phase, where they're just getting involved with pre-work, finding out if this is the route that they want to take. So hopefully soon we'll have another 3 to add to the mix.
That's great. And you hear some people say LIM. Is that an acceptable acronym?
Oh,
for
yeah,
Leader in Me?
LIM, yeah. We usually just say Leader in Me. We shorten it in writing, but LIM, I don't know about that one.
I thought I would say that
Yeah.
in case you see any
Yep.
papers coming home in your kids' backpacks and it says LIM,
Yep,
L-I-M,
LIM.
then you don't need to question what are they talking about. It does represent Leader in Me.
Yeah.
When you talk about the 7 habits, what are those 7 habits?
Yeah, that's a
We
great
hear
question.
the young people recite them quite often, and I know they see posters around the school to reinforce it. So what are they?
Yeah, so well, the first 3, I'm gonna group them here, but the first 3 are really all about you as an individual and your own personal responsibility, and they're being proactive. And our kids say with being proactive that they're in charge of themselves. Habit 2 is beginning with the end in mind, which our kids say we have a plan. And habit 3 is put first things first, and our kids say work first, then play. So those 3 habits are the foundational piece. We call it the character piece. It's who they are and what they do when no one's looking. And then we move to habit 4, which is think win-win, and our kids say everyone can win. Habit 5 is seek first to understand, then to be understood, and our kids just say listen first, talk later. Which is a great one, especially for us as adults.
Yes.
I think we struggle with that one the most. And then habit 6 is synergize, which is working together. And those 3 are really about how you work and play well with others. And so you've got your foundational piece with habits 1, 2, and 3, how you work and play well with others in 4, 5, and 6. And then habit 7 is sharpening the saw, which our kids, they always say balance feels best. So that's where we focus on personal wellness and renewal.
That's great. If you're just joining us, this is Tara Thomas with Waterloo Schools. You're hearing the voice of Melissa Reed. She is in charge of the local Leader in Me program, something that has been adopted in 9 of the Waterloo schools and has given young people a great opportunity to grow their leadership skills and really enhance the soft skills that so many employers say today are lacking in terms of the pool of graduates out there to fill available positions. One thing that is really neat about Leader in Me is it also gives ownership beyond the classroom to young people. I know Becker Elementary comes to mind when you think about their cleanup crew and you see the young people with literally the broomstick and a tennis ball on the end, and some of them have been charged with the responsibility of shining the floor by taking the tennis ball and rubbing out the scuff marks. And over at Hoover, the middle school, one of the 2 middle schools that has adopted Leader in Me, we have cleanup crews for the lunchroom, and what we've heard is that the young people say when they are given that responsibility, all of a sudden it makes a difference to them if their peer, their classmate, is leaving trash out. And so you then are empowered to help better the community, that environment for learning, just by being given that responsibility to say, hey, I'm going to help these lunch people be proactive about reminding kids you need to pick up your trash, you need to keep your area and your environment clean. And so those kinds of lessons truly are unique in that they might not traditionally be ones that you learn sitting in a classroom.
That's exactly right. We have so many authentic leadership opportunities, which is really one of the hallmarks of this. And it really can be based on students' interests, their talents and gifts, the needs of the school, and oftentimes the leadership roles that evolve in a school are ideas that were driven by students. And that's what makes it even more powerful, is that they are feeling empowered to say, hey, you know what, we really need somebody to help the custodian with this, or we really need a team of kids to do this. And so it's pretty authentic leadership opportunities. And like you said earlier, Tara, to go through an interview process, to fill out an application, those kinds of things, that's very real world. And one of the things that we have realized as educators is that we often felt like we needed to take care of everything. We're starting to shift our paradigm a little bit and realize the more we allow kids to do, the more that they will step up. And so that's kind of the premise behind this work.
And they are held accountable. If a child pursues that leadership role and acquires that position, he or she then is held to a standard whereby, like an employer would hold you to a level of responsibility, you can lose your spot if you don't hold up your end of the bargain.
Yeah, it's very real world consequence that ties to the responsibilities that they've chosen.
And I think the other thing we need to think about is how being a leader in the school perhaps improves the entire image of the building, because people in the business community who may not have children in the schools, if they are familiar with the program, it really can be a badge of honor to say that this school is fostering an educational environment where leadership is a priority.
Yeah.
How is it perceived in your work by folks that don't have a tie with the schools? You know, when you talk about the Leader in Me proliferation in the schools.
Yeah, well, they're wowed when they hear that students know and can apply the 7 habits of effectiveness, and they think about people in their workplace who can't. That's pretty powerful. They're always impressed with the poise and composure and the responsibility and the eagerness of the students when they go in and into the schools and see it firsthand. So yeah, there's so much support from our business community. We're really very fortunate that they have helped identify a need that will certainly better the Cedar Valley, but they're also contributing to the solution with it.
Absolutely, that's key, the partnership for the future. When you look at upcoming Leader in Me opportunities, a symposium is happening in April. Talk about that and how fortunate we are in the Cedar Valley to land this high-level event.
Yeah, this is a big deal. We are on the symposium circuit, which basically means we're holding a regional conference for the Midwest, the first time here in Iowa. And typically, communities of our size are not chosen for this level of work, or for this type of a conference. And so the fact that we've been honored to be able to host the symposium is wonderful, because we'll be showcasing our schools, our Leader in Me schools. It'll be a day where symposium guests go out into the schools and see firsthand this leadership culture. But then also there's an opportunity to learn about best practices, and we've got some great keynotes coming in. We have Sean Covey, the son of Dr. Stephen Covey, as well as Jeffrey Canada, who's a well-known education reformer out of Harlem. And so it's pretty exciting, these opportunities that we'll be having here coming up in April with the symposium.
How could somebody listening who might like to attend find out more information or sign up?
Yep, you can go to leadervalley.org or the cedarvalleyalliance.com, and you can find out about both of those events there.
And the symposium, when you talk about getting out in the community, this will give anybody who participates a chance then to tour local schools to see firsthand how it's being implemented.
Exactly, yeah, that's one of the highlights is we load up everybody, all 500 or 600 people on Greyhound buses, and we everybody has their designated schools that they'll make it to, and so they'll come away with great ideas. You know, our schools are doing a lot of preparation work. I've been meeting with them to really make this a remarkable experience for them, and so I know that the guests who arrive at those schools will be wowed.
Oh, absolutely, and I can think of so many times when we have had school events where the go-to school group, if you will, is the Leader in Me kids, the kids who've been involved in some of the higher level leadership opportunities, and it is truly giving them an opportunity to grow their skill set in a way that is so different from your traditional sit and get educational approach. So, well, we have some more here to share from Melissa about Leader in Me, but we're going to take a quick break, and you're joining us about Leader in Me today as we share more within the Waterloo Schools. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. This is Tara Thomas with Waterloo Schools. Melissa Reed is joining us. She is the local Leader in Me, really person that is the go-to woman if you have any questions or would like to be involved with a program that has really united a lot of local business folks with the schools and really helping our young people have the training around the Stephen Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that can be implemented not just in professional circles, but clearly in all of our personal lives. These soft skills can really help foster better communication and relationship building among peers. So I think the neat thing about this, Melissa, is when these Leader in Me schools are adopted, it means not just the students, but the staff members will
Mhm.
also get some of that training. So talk about how that works.
Yeah, so the idea behind the training with the 7 habits is first that the adults learn and adopt the 7 habits as a part of their lives so that they can model it, that it's not something that they are teaching, but it's something that they are modeling. And of course, there's explicit lessons that go along with these kinds of concepts, but being able to just model leadership and model the 7 habits of effectiveness speaks louder than any lesson that you could have. And so we often talk about the investment in each other as the adults in the building, and how that establishing a climate and culture where the adults are practicing these habits and then nurturing each other and investing in each other, how that pays dividends for the students.
And how does a school, if somebody, or a business, if somebody's listening that would like to hear more about it, how can you become a part of Leader in Me and perhaps bring that to your work site?
That's a great question. So Franklin Covey has an education division, which is the division that we work with, but then there's a division that supports business communities. And so really it's a matter of visiting franklincovey.com. But if you wanted a more personal connection, I would be able to provide that to you if you just contacted me at the Alliance and Chamber.
And talk about how you came to be a part of the Leader in Me program. What was your background that landed you here?
Well, I am a former teacher and principal, elementary teacher, middle school principal, and this opportunity opened up a few years ago to be the Leader Valley director. It was a new position that had just been created and didn't really know where it would go and what would happen, but it's been a gift to my life, to say the least. But it's absolutely brought joy for those schools that are doing this work well. It's brought joy back to education in a climate that is can be a little bit harsh and unappreciative and demanding. And so I feel very proud to be part of this journey now that our schools are going on.
Where were you a principal and teacher?
Yeah, I was an elementary teacher in Cedar Falls and then a middle school principal at Hudson.
Okay, and so that definitely gives you the perspective to better be able to bring the program to the educational side of things, having walked in the shoes of those folks before.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on a daily basis, oh, why didn't I do that when I was a principal or when I was a teacher? I would totally rethink and redo so many aspects of what I did as an educator with what I've learned now. And so I feel blessed that I can be part of it in some way, even though I'm not tied to one building.
Absolutely. Well, that's great that you now maybe have not only expanded your reach, but you can have them be more receptive to your suggestions because, oh, hey, I used to be a teacher too. So like you said, you can relate to how it can be at times, I think, a thankless job. And with all of the demands that we put on our educators, it's nice that in this way they're maybe getting that extra layer of support to say this goes beyond the classroom. This is something that hopefully the parents will embrace as well. I know some of the principals will send out emails to all the parents that will say, hey, here's the habit we're focusing on this week. So ask your child, ask your grandchild about how are you doing the put first things first. And that is something that, like you said, as adults, we don't always contemplate in our approach to living. And so I think it really we can learn a lot from the young people that are adopting these principles. Yeah,
there's an accountability measure in some ways when kids know that these are the habits and they see you not maybe performing one of the habits to the best of your ability, and they'll catch you on it. That's pretty powerful. But also, we have these stories early on in the Leader in Me journey across the Cedar Valley where parents would call the school and say, what are you teaching my kid? My son just told me I needed to be more proactive. What does that mean? And so the kids who are exposed in this leadership environment really start to ingrain this and take it home and do a little teaching to their parents as well.
Oh, absolutely. It's been fun. One thing that we also need to keep in mind is how much a program like this really relies on the donations from businesses, you said. And so talk about how is funding and the support of really donated, dollars going to keep this alive?
Yeah, that's a great question, and actually one that we've really been mulling over for some time. We are getting ready to start a capital campaign that would help bring financial support to the remaining Leader in Me, potential Leader in Me schools in the Cedar Valley, but also create an endowment that would help to ensure that there's resources available for sustainability after through their initial training phases. And so we're trying to be very thoughtful about how we can make this a long-lasting endeavor and not one of those fleeting initiatives that comes and goes in education so often. So yeah, our business community can certainly be in touch with us at the Alliance and Chamber. We have a foundation that's been established and for the very purpose of supporting Leader in Me across our schools. So it's pretty exciting.
That is, and it's great that you've been able to grow the program so far beyond maybe where it was initially when you came on board.
Yeah, when I started, there were 8 schools, and we're up to 17 schools now. And that's just in a couple-year time, but I think that there was the hope that maybe we would grow quicker, but I prefer actually the pace that we're going because we're being much more thoughtful about engaging our schools in the work. And so, it's very exciting though.
If any of you have seen on KWWL, there is a commercial, Waterloo Schools produced commercial that is showcasing some of the many things that Leader in Me has brought in terms of opportunities and programming in the buildings. There's a young man who does a speech about being a leader that has become so popular. He's been invited to give that speech many times, and so a clip from that speech is in that commercial, as well as some still photos that showcase the kids with the signs that are displaying the 7 habits. And again, it's that visual reinforcement when you go in any of our buildings, and you're always invited to come into any of our buildings in the Waterloo Schools, you will see how much that message is reinforced with the posters on the wall, many of them student-made, the artwork, the murals, because we really want the qualities, the leadership qualities, to be something that they are so comfortable sharing that it just becomes a part of living, breathing, walking the halls of our buildings. One opportunity that I should mention that's really unique is coming up this weekend at UNI. If you've heard of TED Talks, the famous, really most famous way now that people in short spurts can share motivational speeches worldwide, there are so many opportunities through these TED Talks for people to learn about anything and everything and leadership among it. So TED has an opportunity for communities to do what they call TEDx events, and in this case it will be a 3-hour event that will be, I believe, streamed live, or at least later put on their YouTube channel on some fashion, and it gives a lot of any local business or person who's really committed to professional development an opportunity to just see some unique speakers. Dr. from Mayo, who just has so much insight in terms of quality of life. And then because of the Leader in Me success, we have Hoover and Orange principals, Mike Fisher and Terry Trask, and some young people from both of their buildings who will also be a part of the event. So it's just going to be, for those kids, such a great opportunity to be on the Gallagher Bluedorn stage and to be a part of something that's so much bigger than just their building, or for that matter, the Valley, in that it will be collectively an international opportunity to share their words about leadership. And the kids have been practicing, the principals and everybody, we're all so excited about it. So I just wanted to mention that thanks to Melissa and the Leader in Me program, those opportunities have been presented for our young people. You also wanted to share coming up Global Youth Service Day, and tell us about that and how that might bring the Leader in Me students out, for involvement.
Well, all of our Leader in Me schools engage in service projects. That's just a given as an authentic leadership opportunity. And so, but on April 14th, it's Global Service Day, and we were invited by the Cedar Valley Volunteer Center to really be more intentional on that particular day. And so I think we'll be able to see some of our schools really showcasing service projects on that given day. And that's really exciting. And I know we appreciated the outreach from the Volunteer Center. And again, that's a reflection of the community seeing the value in what our schools are doing. And so it's an exciting opportunity that our kids will be engaging in. It's never too early to learn how to serve others.
Oh, absolutely. And again, if you're just joining us, I'm Tara Thomas with Waterloo Schools, and you're hearing the voice of Melissa Reed with Leader in Me. Locally, they've grown over the last couple of years to now include, how many schools did you say? 17.
Yep.
So 17 schools. So for many of you who have children or grandchildren in Waterloo Schools, 9 among our schools have already adopted the program and some more in the works. So if you hear the 7 habits being shared, putting first things first, being proactive, sharpen the saw, you know, some kids even have hand gestures that
Oh,
go
yeah,
along
there's
with
a
all
whole
the movements.
Yeah.
There's posters, there's dances, there's videos, so it's just
Yeah.
a really fun way to engage kids in lifelong habits that they hopefully will adopt and carry on far beyond the school. And also, clearly just really grow the soft skills that we know are lacking
Yeah.
among employers. And, you know, you hear, and it's so true that now with all the technology and the smartphones, some of the interaction, the communication is lost with young people, that art of having face-to-face conversations, because they can text or post something or send a Snapchat image or an
Yeah.
Instagram photo to really put that layer of anonymity between
Mhm.
them and their peers. And so I think what's great about Leader in Me is it's really pushing that whole communication side of being comfortable speaking, not just in front of a group, but to have the interpersonal
Mhm.
relationships and to just really respect how that will play into your day-to-day life in the working world, because we know that we're gonna have to work and live around a lot of people that maybe are from completely different backgrounds. And so if you can really get that comfort zone where you can have that, you know, professional and comfortable relationship, I mean, you cannot teach that out of a book.
That's exactly right. And the earlier we can teach our young people, the better. Why do we have to wait till adulthood to become effective?
Oh, absolutely.
So,
That's what I love, that our
yeah.
elementaries are so involved. In fact, of the 9 schools
Yeah.
right now, 7 of the Leader in Me schools in Waterloo are the elementaries,
Yeah,
correct? Okay,
correct.
and so that's what's so neat, is as soon as your child walks through that door to kindergarten, he or she has a good opportunity to engage immediately in the leadership growth. So talk about how this program really is going to, as you mentioned, hopefully grow in terms of monetarily the capital campaign. But in our last couple of minutes here, we're getting the time cue. What is it that people listening could really do to support this work? I mean, we hear, like you said, about initiatives that sometimes, you know, get a lot of momentum and then
Yeah.
die. And what are we hoping to do to keep it alive?
Yeah, well, I think the first thing is that our community members are invited to go into our schools. And there's some great leadership opportunities coming up in our schools. We have 6 leadership days through the March through April, or through May actually, in our Waterloo schools. And those would be an awesome time for you, first of all, just to learn, to seek first to understand, habit 5, understand what's going on with these leadership cultures. Go in and experience a day with them, with the kids, and see how they step up in their leadership roles. That's the first and foremost way, is just to become involved in the schools. We're often doing leadership projects in the school that require experts in particular areas. And so I know, Tara, you've gone in and you've helped train public speakers at some of our schools, but we have all types of leadership opportunities where we bring in experts from the business community to help teach these kids so they understand the real world connection that's going on. So that's just 2 ways right there to become involved.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And we have about 30 seconds. Give me some of these names of the schools and the dates when these leadership days are happening.
You bet. April 9th, Becker Elementary. April 15th, Orange Elementary. April 21st, Pointer Elementary. April 28th, Kittrell Elementary. April 30th, Hoover Middle School. And May 8th, Dr. Walter Cunningham School for Excellence.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Melissa, and the Leader in Me program, for your time and the talent that you're bringing, and all the leadership growth that our children are benefiting from as a result of it. We just really appreciate all that you're doing. And thanks so much for tuning in to check out more about Waterloo Schools. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and remember, anytime you can stop in, because we need you to help our children grow their educational opportunities. Have a great day.